what's right, what's wrong. And there is no right, there is no wrong. It's what works best for you. Wherever you point these fingers is where his body will go. And the martial arts opened up not just an entity, it opened up a lifestyle. So if I point there, he'll fall there. If I point here, he'll fall there.
I try to avoid everything that was really bad outside of the mat. Let's say the drugs, let's say...
It became their safe space.
Yeah, my safe space. Mm-hmm. Plus, I felt like a warrior being there.
So you want to get the elbow to go past the arm. He's like, I can't teach you anything. The only thing I'm going to be able to do is help you understand and refine what you have. It's been a neat journey, I know that.
Always my students are asking me how we met, because this is a funny thing, because you know how we met.
Yeah, it was kind of funny that you and I met by accident, but I think what really kind of brought us together was comparing.
When was it?
2017.
17.
Yeah, it was at Ken McKenzie's Hapkido Summit. Yeah.
In Philadelphia?
New Jersey,
2017. Yeah. I saw you. You were full of tattoos and with a ponytail like me. So I thought, wow, this guy must be good, like me.
You really were thinking I was crazy.
A little bit crazy, you know me.
Yeah.
So why you approached me? Because I remember you told me something about my tattoos, and then we met in the hotel, and we started talking, right?
Well, that was later. We met at Mackenzie's event in 2017, and then you and I were invited, but I didn't know you were going to, God rest his soul, Grandmaster Inwan Kim's.
Inwan Kim,
yeah, right. And I think that was in 2018, because I think that was the next year. Later,
yeah.
And in Florida. And then you were at the same hotel, and it was like I found a long lost little brother. It was kind of, at that point.
Yeah, I remember that we were sharing some techniques, and you was showing me the your Hapkido. At that time, I was already mastering Hapkido, but you showed me really crazy things.
Little variations.
Variations and some high-level stuff. I think that was there when I started thinking about I could work with you and being together, and I wanted to try to reach some certain level like you.
That's kind of funny you say that, because you're watching me for what I know, but I was watching you for what you desire and your physical ability, because your precision, even when we first met, was very, very high, but it just needed a little refinement or tweaking. And I knew that
because in Inwan Kim, if I'm not wrong, I was teaching also FMA.
Yes,
I was doing a Hapkido and FMA. So my main focus was on FMA with sticks and some knives. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a neat event, because he brought in me and you, and then he had our other brother now, Ramphis, Dr. Marquez. He was there. Oscar was there.
Rico, Mexico. Yeah,
because that was the first time all four of us were in one place at one time.
Okay,
I
just
didn't
think about it.
I just now realized that. Yeah, that was the first time.
Since there we were like many times together.
Yeah, I didn't realize. So I don't know if we should credit Ken McKenzie for, maybe we should look at it the way that McKenzie introduced us, but Inwan Kim really kind of brought us together. That's a different perspective. Yeah, it was neat. It's been a neat journey.
And then you came to Barcelona with me, or I went to USA. Do you remember? Because I wanted to train with you, and I think that Oscar was in USA also.
I think I came here in 2019 with Jordan, and then you came to the States.
We have the same
after that
seminar in Spain in 19.
Yeah, that was the first time I was here. Was in 19. Boy, that was a crazy year. That was a blur. That was pre-COVID. I taught in 23 countries that year. And it was like,
I remember we talked about that.
It was crazy.
Traveling, because I used to travel a lot. I'm traveling a lot. And that time you told me like 20, 30, 40 countries. And I was at that time maybe 15 countries. We were discussing about different approach of martial arts, different martial arts approach in depending of the country.
Yeah, I remember when 2019 when I came here, I had stopped in. I think I started my European leg. If I remember right, I started in Austria at Grandmaster Perry Smoot's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went there, and then I came here with Jordan afterwards, and then I went to England, and then Jordan went home from there, and then I went from there to, God, I think if I was in Korea and the Philippines, and that whole time frame of when I started here in Europe and then went elsewhere, I think it was like 47 days I was teaching in 11 countries or something crazy.
Because some people doesn't know, but I am dual citizen, Filipino citizen as well, and Spanish, and your wife is Filipina. So you have visited Philippines like 20 times, 30 times?
If not more.
You live in there as well sometimes, and some periods of time. Yesterday we were talking about, I like this thing you said. You said that for you, the mat is like in a laboratory.
Yep.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's as I've grown in my study of the arts, the biggest thing is it's taught me how to discover more about myself. And it's more about, it's not so much about the physicality and the tricks and all of that. It's more learning about what I need in my life and how to grow as a person. And the best place to do that and to test it, using a scientific approach, is a laboratory. So yeah, I kind of always talk about training and studying in a deep, intimate manner as the laboratory. And actually, I stole that concept from one of my other dear friends. Remember, you met him in July at my place, Eric Rodriguez.
Of course.
Yeah. So he's
amazing.
Yeah, another guy. I've been so blessed in.
He's a karate guy. Karate.
Yeah. Okinawan is primarily where he was at.
I remember his movements, very karate.
Yeah, but he's quick. He's very, very quick, and it's all of my guys were watching you and him play together.
Right. We're doing some
demo. It was like, everybody was getting it.
And everything was random, and it was really nice.
It was unscripted. That was the best thing. We've always since 2018, when you and I kind of finally made that big step or that click, we've just grown. It's never been scripted. We've just let things go organically the way that they're meant to be. It's nothing's ever been forced. It's like trying to put the square peg in a round hole. It won't fit. So, but I was very blessed to get the knowledge base I did from my late teacher, Grandmaster Pak. When I met him, he kind of looked at me as a good vessel to dump all of his knowledge into, and that's always been the approach that I've had as far as traveling and teaching is I've met thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and I don't know how many people I've actually taught on the mat.
Because before Park, former instructor, he passed away, right?
Yeah, when I was young.
When you were young, you had some, because you told me that you were a professional roller skater.
Ice skater.
Ice skater. Ice skater?
Yeah.
I thought you were a roller skater.
No, ice skater. Yeah.
You were in the Olympics as well.
Junior Olympic team, yeah. I was on the junior Olympic team, junior elite team, up until about the age of 16. And then I finally just blew my body apart.
So you learned how to fall and...
Yeah. It wasn't as, the falling was the falling in figure skating was not scripted. It was,
And you don't have mat there.
no, there's no mat. It's very unforgiving.
Wow.
But so I had a very good athletic base when I met my teacher in Canada, and I just didn't have the knowledge. I went up to meet him, and I just wanted to meet him. I was looking for someone to pick up where I had started. I started in Taekwondo, and I eventually figured out that my body type and my athletic abilities and things like that were not so much geared to the Taekwondo approach. I could kick and punch you to death, but I didn't feel like once I got inside that range, I didn't know what to do. And I'm not a tiny guy, I'm stocky, and I felt like I was never able to really utilize the mechanical strength that I had. So I wanted to look for something else to supplement that. And so the Taekwondo is very athletic based, but the Hapkido is very functional based. So it was a good merger. And when I met Grandmaster Pak, that was it. That was over. I remember the first day I went in for class when I moved to Canada to go train with him. I was unpacking all my stuff out of the car and got it all loaded in the school. I slept in the school, and that's where I lived, was on the mat. And he was always, he wasn't exactly the nicest guy. Everything was somewhat of a,
It's kind of a Karate Kid movie.
yeah, it was really, I mean, it was like I lived that whole idea.
Nice experience.
Yeah, but I remember he told me I was there to learn. So whatever I had in my head, leave it at the door and come with an empty mind. And I was very blessed and fortunate to listen, because he changed everything I did. So
I think I have like some kind of experience when I met, or I had a different martial arts. I have a different martial arts background, so I met many grandmasters. You know that sometimes when you meet a grandmaster, it means that it's old person. Like I had a grandmaster Lito Concepcion in the Philippines, and he taught me for 6 years before he passed in 2015. So I had this, let's say, kind of Karate Kids experience, like you said now. But I think that this is something very special that we had, but it's something that is not now in a regular dojo.
No, I agree. It's kind of that that intimacy is more commercialized now.
I mean, the student, no, the figure, when you realize that you have a master, you have a father, you have a role model to follow.
Yes.
So now that I've been teaching for many years in dojo schools or wherever, schools abroad, it's more like you are just an instructor, just a trainer. You are a trainer. What do you think that?
I kind of agree with that. I mean, it's going back to, you and I met at Grandmaster McKenzie's event, and then we reunited, probably the easy way to say it, at Grandmaster Inwan Kim's place. The introduction was at McKenzie's, but that intimacy and that kind of off track. But I always felt like when you and I kind of finally meshed together at Inwan's place, that was like when I found a long lost little brother, and that's always kind of been the approach of I'm not your teacher, I'm your friend and your family. So, and I think that's kind of lost a lot anymore in how the arts are passed on. I was talking to Dr. Marquez about it some time ago, and it's just, I guess it's the changing of the culture and the time, and unfortunately we live in a society, especially in the U.S. I don't know how it is in Europe or Spain specifically, But in the United States, everything is everybody wants it right now. You know, they have this, I want to be able to go through a drive-through and get it.
And a lot of ego and thinking yourself.
And you and I were talking about it when I got here, you know, a couple of days ago about, you know, the whole purpose is to share and to grow.
You told me about the term of samurai.
Yeah, samurai, it means to serve, you know, and I think that's lost. I really do. So I don't, everybody approaches, well, I probably need to put a caveat in there. So many people approach it from a business aspect that I think that they lose that personal bond or that personal relationship or that personal growth idea. That's another reason I call it the laboratory, because that's when you really find out people. You know, after a period of time, you know, you see someone on the mat for years and years, you know, behavior never lies, you know.
Yeah, but I think that there is this business approach or vision from the owners, but also some kind of athletic vision for the students.
Yes.
So what I mean is, what I'm trying, or what I would like to do in my opinion, what I would like to do in martial arts is to give them, my students, to give them a tool to improve their lives.
Yes.
This is the main reason of, for me, teaching. So it's not about the technique, it's not about how many rounds you can beat.
How many times have you heard me say, I can't make you me. All I can do is make you the best version of who you're capable of being. And that's
what I mean is that we need to work on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the student is not now focused on being better or try to improve. It's like only trying to, you know, social media. I'm very active in social media.
Yeah.
I need for my business. I need to.
You're very active.
I need people there watching my things to trust me and try to come here and train. But my main goal is to give them, like it happened to me with martial arts. For me, it's the best tool or one of the best tools to improve your life.
I remember
in sport and whatever.
I remember
mentally.
As we grew and learned how the study of martial arts completely changed your life.
In my case, I think it's your case the same.
Yeah,
everything is around this martial arts life.
Yeah, I mean, it was, if I remember right, you started in Taekwondo, right?
Taekwondo, yeah.
And then therefore...
And I was very little, only Taekwondo.
Yeah, and then if I remember, you told me a story that you stayed in the school or something like that. I mean, I'm talking way long time ago.
Yeah, not everybody knows, but because I never met my mom, I had a really hard time with my father, so I had to spend a lot of time in the gym, and was my let's say my life was to be with my friends in the dojan, in the mat. I try to avoid everything that was really bad outside of the mat. Let's say the drugs. Let's say
it became your safe space.
Yeah, it was my safe space. Plus, was very emotional for me to be there. Like I felt like a warrior being there. So because at that time, I mean the 90s, 1994, when I was 10 to 14, that I was really in deep inside of competing also in Taekwondo, is when I had all my friends, you know, like I was skating there, skateboard, and all my friends were doing skateboard, but they were doing bad things as well.
Yeah, I remember you had one of your best friends got you started in martial arts, if I remember right. That didn't. It was like your best friend that introduced you into the whole culture of the martial arts. I think I remember you telling me that long time ago.
Actually, I had many friends helping me, and that
Really?
I had a really hard time at that time when I was a little. So family issues, So the point is that martial arts helped me a lot, really a lot.
Yeah.
And now what I'm trying to say is that I think that for everybody could be nice to have something. I don't say only martial arts. You can find, I don't know, maybe you like skating or wherever, but mostly all the sports are focused on sports. Athletic approach. If you want to find something more specific or you want to go one level further, maybe you should try martial arts, because in my life, or a lot of lives that there are here in Doyansal, it's a big change.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. I'm very active in music. I play guitar. I mean, it's my other passion. But and I came from the figure skating background. But those things are just entities, and the martial arts opened up not just an entity; it opened up a lifestyle, and I think that I was very fortunate that martial arts helped me grow as a person, to be who I am, not just know what I know. And it's, again, that kind of goes back to the thing we were talking about, how I think some of the intimacy is lost in that transition of teaching. People approach it as teaching when it's more that approach of mentoring. And I remember when I was in university, I had, throughout the years I was in university, I had all these professors, and out of those professors, I can only really remember one or two of them where we had special moments, and it was mainly because they did something to help me grow, not just teach me. It was not just knowledge; it was that whole approach of personal growth. So, and I think that's something that, again, gets kind of lost in the idea of the business approach. But it is business. You got to pay for the bills. You got to keep the lights on. You got to pay your insurance, and your rent's not cheap. So you got to figure out how to balance that. I was very fortunate that after Grandmaster Pak died, to be honest with you, I was very, very bitter. And, he changed my life and taught me a phenomenal amount of things. But it was hard to not have him anymore. And it wasn't until I met Dr. G, to where he actually kind of re-centered me and focused me to start sifting through all of the stuff that Grandmaster Pak had given me. I remember that when he and I when we first met, he's like, I can't teach you anything. The only thing I'm going to be able to do is help you understand and refine what you have. And that's where that mentorship established with him. And now to this day, I mean, he's like my grandfather to me, and I just saw him May of this year, and I'll see him again next year. I'm on the East Coast, and he's in Boston now. And it's always a good time to go see him. I want to introduce you to him one of these days.
Sure, I would like.
Yeah, he's a neat old guy. But he helped me sift through that knowledge that I was given. But one of the things he taught me back years ago was that today there's like three sides of the study of martial arts. You have a major commercial operation, which is, it's all about
Money, yeah.
students and money and students and money. But it lacks that bond and that intimacy. And then that would be a commercial. And then you have what he calls a semi-private, which is you kind of have that commercial approach, but out of that you have a handful that are your tight group, and you do a lot of things together. And it's more of a family approach, or that I'm using that term quite a bit, abusing it, but intimacy together. And then you have a strictly private where you're just very, very tight.
And you choose who is there.
Yeah, and you choose who is there, and that becomes your center hub of of everything. And, I think that he struggled over the years with the whole idea of the commercialism of the arts. And he always had a very large organization with a lot of people, but in his organization, he had a handful that were very, very close. And out of that handful, there was an even smaller percentage that were like his grandkids. Like I said, I call him my grandfather now. And I guess there's a way to do it in those levels, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been a neat journey. I know that.
What are your projects? You have many projects for the future, right? What is the future for you?
Right now, I've been trying to do it since I met Dr. G years and years ago, was to try to get all the material sifted and put together in a formalized manner and get it in, print form and video form and all of that. Grandmaster Pak was unfortunately he taught me a lot, but unfortunately I ended up developing one of his bad habits, was always trying to refine and trying to make it more logical and more efficient. And it's always a kind of an organic work in progress, but it's been an ongoing process. So right now my focus is to the curriculum is what it is, but now I've got to get it completely done and in a manner to expose it to more people. So those are my projects, is print and videos and that kind of stuff.
You said once that I like this, that our curriculum, or the Hapkido curriculum we have, is alive.
Yes, very much so.
It's not there just, this is very traditional way.
Yeah.
Hapkido way, like, this is like that because always have been like that. You said that, no, this is alive. Our curriculum is alive, it's always changing.
Yes.
For best.
Yeah, I can't make you me. All I can do is make you the best version of who you can be. And as I meet different people, that person is different. So I don't always have the right answer for everybody at that time. So sometimes I have to grow in that process of helping you grow. And it's a learning experience for me as well as it is you. And that's to me, that's one of my passions, honestly, now, is not so much just teaching, but out of the thousands that I've had the time on the mat with, that handful of 10, 12, 15 that I'm very, very close to, that's neat to me. It fascinates me to watch this one excel this way, but with the same stuff. It's not like it varies from person to person. It's just the focus of what the core is gets applied to this person this way, but the focus of what the core is gets applied to this way to the other person. And that's one of the reasons I always say it's kind of a living organism, is because, what works for me may not work for you, but what works for you may not work for Alex. And so we have to figure out what's the best way to make it functional for each individual. It's
adaptability too.
Say again?
Adaptability?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it also depends on your approach, so if you were to, again, I'm stealing this from Dr. G, if you look at the martial arts as what they are, all of them. So if you take, all your Okinawan systems and all your Japanese systems and all your Filipino systems and Korean systems, and you put them in a big pile and you start sifting them, we all do the same thing. It's just we apply it different ways and have different focus on the same stuff. I've not done anything different. I've not come up with something that no one else has done before. it's just I've been able to focus and understand this is what works best for me. But I think the big thing to understand is that all of those arts are all based on people. And I asked Dr. G one time, what was your favorite martial art? And it wasn't until I was down in Colombia last year that I got asked that same question, and it was one of the little kids I was teaching, and I actually when that young man asked me is when I remembered when I asked him what he said, and he said, I study the philosophy of movement, not art. And that's not a martial system. It's not, he's a grandmaster in Bondo, but that was his core. It was the name of the movement. There's a difference. There's not anything different in Bondo. We all move the same way. We have 2 arms and 2 legs. It's just the focus is on X. Whereas, in Taekwondo, it's the same arms and same legs, but the focus is on Y. And when he told me that when I was younger, it was like the blinders came off, and I understood that it wasn't about a name as far as what you do. It was about the science behind how the body works. But if you take all those arts together, no matter what culture they come from, they would fall into one of 3 categories, which is something that's very aesthetic based, meaning they've done it this way for years and years and years, and we don't deviate
the traditional way
from the tradition. They believe the strength is in the tradition of the culture and the art of how it started. And then you kind of go to that next level, which would be the athletic approach, which is how do you take that discipline and apply it to more the athletic approach to be able to perform
and get more medals. Nowadays is very popular this way.
Yeah, and then the last part of that was, and I'm kind of getting off subject, but that seems like where most martial systems exist, is in one of those 2.
It could be in the middle of.
Yeah, right? It could be a balance of the 2. But it wasn't until Dr. G helped me understand what Grandmaster Pocket gave me that opened up that 3rd tier of that, which is more of the functional combative approaches, is not so much the tradition or the athletics, but now it's more the function of the efficiency. And as I've traveled all around the globe teaching, the one thing I've noticed is that it differs from culture to culture to culture, depending on the country you're in, on what their anticipated approach is. So it's like when I was in Japan teaching, it was very, very aesthetic. It's very, very aesthetic. And the tradition was very high, and but then I spent time down in the Philippines, and that was more of an organic, trying to figure out what functions, and it's amazed me to see that difference around the
opposite. I think it's opposite. If you go into the Philippines and Japan, it's opposite.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And then it's like, but what's right, what's wrong? And there is no right, there is no wrong. It's what works best for you. And that's the big thing is I do things different because of the theories and the concepts and somewhat the science, so to speak, behind it, as well as the influence of the Chinese medicine approach to it. All I do is can go in and say, okay, you know how to do X, and I'm going to show you how to make X a little bit more efficient based on the science of the biomechanics of the body, and it's always going to differ. Not everybody is going to be my height and my weight and my exact size, so I have to be able to adapt. Well, in the process of learning how to adapt to that, I need to understand how to adapt to teach that to somebody that starts from that place, So
Depending also
Yeah.
on the opponent, right?
yeah, absolutely. So when you start looking at that, what we call the size matrix, how much mass a person has and much height a person has, that's going to dictate a lot of what their approach is going to be. Someone that's a smaller stature is going to be able to do a lot more, biomechanical pulling motion because of that's their strength, because of their center of mass is higher. But someone that is taller is going to be able to do a lot more pushing motion because they're going from that top down perspective versus that bottom up perspective. And again, I say this, and it's not like I've created that. This is stuff that I've been taught, that I've just been able to refine over the years. Like I said, I was very blessed to have some amazing people have their hands on me. But that also goes back to, I was a good vessel when I started in the martial arts, because I just came out of the figure skating lifestyle, and I was looking for something to fill that void because I couldn't do it anymore. I literally tore my body apart. So I got into something that was not as hard on my body, and I got into martial arts. It doesn't make sense, but that's kind of where I found my home. I actually got started in the martial arts because I was mugged. I don't know if I ever told you that story before. Yeah, I was ran off the road, and a guy got out of the car, and I thought he was checking on me, and I don't know what was going on, but he had a knife in his hand, and I ended up getting attempted mugging. And I at that point, I was just lucky enough to be observant that I defended myself, and went to my grandparents' house and called my mom, and I had a big cut on my hand, and it was a mess, but that's what got me started in the arts.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's how I got started. And it was, I needed something to fill that void, because I'd spent my entire life, I started roller skating when I was 5, and then I switched to ice skating, I think I was 8 is when I switched to ice skating. And that dedication was there. And I had this big hole that I had to fill. And originally I was filling it with not so beneficial things, and got in a lot of trouble and depression and all of this. And martial art was what recentered my life and got me going again. But I started in Taekwondo, and like I said, from there I just kind of grew and grew and grew and grew from there. But again, it goes back to that idea of the laboratory and of personal growth. So, I mean, I call this the laboratory. But the more you're involved in here, to realize that it's not just here, that laboratory becomes everywhere. But some people have to be exposed to that to change their thinking and their mentality, because that's not how people normally think. So what can I take here and apply out there on the street in my life, and then what can I take out there and apply in my life that I can take around the other side of the globe that's still going to be the same thing? And that's kind of like the
share.
Yeah.
You can take here.
Yeah.
From here, you can take things to share to others, to your beloveds.
Yeah.
So we're gonna finish now, but we're gonna go to Mexico.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also maybe Colombia, maybe Argentina.
Yeah.
So we travel a lot together.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I was saying, the first time we were, all 4 of us were in one place at one time, was at Grandmaster Kim's event, and we've been in communication with each other since 2018, but it wasn't until just recently, last year, when we all finally got together and said, okay, this is not about me, and it's not about you, and it's not about Oscar Romero, and it's not about Ramfis Marquez. It's about how the 4 of us can contribute to our speciality of what we know to other people. And that was, when I realized that, I consider myself a pretty humble person. I don't know everything. I don't claim to.
You know everything?
I
don't know everything?
No, I'll leave now, sorry. But I know there's people that do things better than I do. And I have a very, very good friend, has a very large event he runs every year down in Florida. His name's Thomas Gordon, does Korean Martial Art Festival. And I stole this from him over the years of knowing him and developing a friendship. Was he told me one time, he goes, yeah, I had to learn how to get out of my own way. And I thought, wow, what's he mean by that? And then I was like, man, he's right. Your application of using utilities, sticks, knives, whatever, is far superior than mine, but the concepts are there. So how do you adapt, a fan lock empty-handed to a fan lock with a stick, with a knife, with whatever? And it's understanding how not necessarily to relearn something new. It's learning how to make whatever that is an extension of you. And as you and I have grown over the years, that was one of the things I noticed. I was like, oh my God, this guy can pick up a pencil. It didn't matter. Put it away. Don't hurt me.
I think the same with Francis, with Oscar, us.
Yeah.
We learn each other.
Yeah.
We learn from each other, all the time.
This last July when we all got together and we sit down and I said, hey, listen, I don't want this to be about me anymore. I need your help. I want you guys to be my partners. And that's when I said, hey, this is not about me. And that's when I named all three of you guys co-founders of this whole organic monstrosity that we've got going on. It's because everybody has a different focus. And my focus may not be the focus that John or Susie or Tom may have, but Oscar's may be what Susie needs, and John's may be what you need. And so understanding how to be humble and get out of my way to find the right person to help that other person, go through their stages of personal growth was what was one of the reasons that I got out of my own way. So
amazing.
July was a lot of fun. That was good times.
And this October will be in Mexico.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. It's I'll turn 50 this year in October, and I think we're planning on trying to do that the big event in
Puebla,
in Mexico, and we met in 2018, all of us together in one place, but it wasn't until, was it 2024 or 2023 we were in Mexico?
Yeah, I think.
Was it 2023? Yeah, it was 2023.
24 was,
Yeah, so it was 2023 when we were all in the same place at the same time again. That was the second time. And after that is when I realized, okay, now I got guys I can really lean on, and I can depend on that all. It's not necessarily about the art. It's just about the perspective of the biomechanics. And Ramphus, he moves very similar to me, but we're also very similar stature. And Oscar is much taller, so his movements are different.
The smallest. So
yeah, but it's also the difference of the mentality. It's Oscar is so deep into the meditation and right. Those type of things that I just
crazy.
I get out of the way. I let him do. That's what he does. And when we talk about Dr. Marquez, God, I don't know how many PhDs he has. He's brilliant. But his ability, he's a psychologist by profession. So his idea on that personal growth, being able to tap into that, to bring that into the art, was just a new avenue and a new door. Like I said, I got out of my own way. So yeah, it'll be good times. We were very lucky. Oscar was the one that introduced us to Javier down in Mexico. That was his, if I remember right, I think Oscar said that was his original training partner when he started in the martial arts. If I remember, that's the story.
He said.
So
we trained together for many years when we were teenagers.
Yeah, I think
So
something to do with the fact that Oscar played football, and I think they played football together, and I think Javier got him into martial arts because of injury. I don't remember the whole story behind it, but you know, that was the second time all four of us were in one place at one time, and it was like, okay, there's some magic here.
we're looking forward to seeing them
Yeah,
there in Mexico.
I enjoy coming to see you. I don't know how many times I've been here in Spain now, but it's always a completely different environment when the four of us are in one place at one time. It's just it's magic.
Because if people don't know, you had this organization, this international organization, this Ohain Hapkido International. And then when you came here, you gave me or put me there as a director for Europe.
Yep, absolutely.
And of course, you were like the boss of the international, or the owner, the master, the grand master of the international Ohain Hapkido. But now we are four, so we are co-founders.
Absolutely.
So this is a big achievement for us.
Yeah, at my home school where I teach all the time, you know, I used to have my picture over the mat, and as soon as I named you guys co-founders, I took it down, and I don't ever want to put myself in a level above any of you guys. That's one of the reasons I took the pictures of you guys when you were there. I just haven't got it done yet, so I'll put the four of us on the wall. You know, this is not a me, it's an us. You know, and again, that kind of goes back to that approach of what I think is important is when you teach, it's not about me, it's about that us. And it just depends on the different level of what you're talking about. So, you know, excuse me, you know, July of last year when we made that step and I said, hey, I want you to be part of this, and I want you to be part of this, and I want you to be part of this. And you guys were all like, whoa. I mean, I out of everybody, I think it was neat to see your reaction. It was neat to see Oscar's reaction. It was neat to see Ramphas's reaction. But it was also amazing to see the reaction of my close students I have at home, that they went, oh, wow. You know, my guys at home don't call me Grandmaster. They call me boss. That's just kind of the slang that they've come up with, that they call me all the time, and I'm okay with it, you know. But they were kind of fascinated with the process of watching me take that back seat. And I don't need to drive all the time. Sometimes I want to sleep in the passenger seat. And so you go do now, you know.
Honestly, my reaction was, whoa,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work for me.
Yeah. Now we got to get going. We got work to do.
So for of us as a co-founders, we're gonna work a lot to
Absolutely. We've got a lot of work to do, but you know, and the other reason that I looked for help was I know what my vision is, and I know that I can't do it by myself. There's no way I can do it by myself. So I had to get someone that's proficient in that methodology, or that, if that's their wheelhouse, then let them do that. You know, if you have a toothache, you go see a dentist. You don't go see a podiatrist. You know, that's a person that is specialized in that form of study. And I don't have the time to study all of those things. But it's needed. We need dentists, you know. So the idea of approaching things from that co-founder perspective versus, you know, a elevated grandmaster and things like that, I think it's a benefit, but it's also not everybody can do that. not everybody can be humble to do that. You know, you can't teach anyone with a closed mind anything. You know, they have to be open. You know, and you know, when I work with you and Oscar and Ramphis all at the same time, you know, I can drop a nugget into the pond and watch the ripples. And then it's interesting to watch what you do with it, and because those ripples eventually come back. And it's interesting to watch what Ramphis does with it, and those ripples come back. And then Oscar does.
You explained yesterday to my students about the colors.
Yeah.
To create colors from these colors, and what you can do with what you know.
Yeah, if you teach based on the idea of memorization, the only thing you will ever know is what you've memorized. But if you teach from the idea of art, which we call it martial art, well, why is it art? Art means you create. But what most people do in martial arts schools is replicate. There's no creation. So I would rather teach from a concepts, to give those concepts of a red, a blue, and a yellow in an art format, and show that if you have all the colors together, it makes black. And if you have, you know, not all the colors, or I think it's back the other way. If you don't have all the colors, it's black. And if you have all the colors, it's white. But then there's the gradient between that where you get the grays. You know, that's great, but that shows the difference. But my version of green is going to be different than yours are. But as long as you understand the idea of what red, blue, and yellow can make, that creation is now on you to do with it what you want. So here's the concepts. Now go show me what you can do with it. Show me what your green is. Show me what your orange is. Show me what your purple is. Because it's going to be different than mine. You know, but that's also that humility of getting out of my own way.
Right.
You know, so I mean, so much of, if you look at how learning happens, you know, you start with, when you have a brand new student that comes in, the first thing they do is they mimic what you do on the mat.
It's very important.
It's very
First step.
First step is do this, do this, do this. You know, and it takes a while for them to be able to replicate that on their own and do it by themselves, to where they go into that memorization process. So the first one is that mimic, and then the memorize. Well, then you get into that memorize here. Well, that's great, but that's that just replication. So then you get to the next one, which is understanding deeply what it is you do. Why does it work? How does it work? You know, but if you really, really, really want to start learning your craft, teach it to someone else. Because what you think is important is not going to be the same as what you think is important, or vice versa. So it has to be adaptable to different people. One of my favorite things to do is teach little kids, you know, because they always come up with some of the most random questions. You know, sometimes, you know, but it's unscripted, and it's based out of a genuine honesty and desire.
The best questions.
Yeah, because they're not stuck in the mentality of it. It's an innocence in that exploration of what they do. But I think the idea of, we go back to that aesthetic, athletic, combative or functional approach of things, you know, most martial arts stop there. They start that mimic and the memorize, and a lot of them teach that understand, but only little. There's a void there. A lot of them will go from that mimic to memorize, and then they go to the teach. I don't know how many times I've been at different seminars, and somebody that's, you know, I share the mat with, and they're doing a module, and they teach something, and then myself or one of my students will go up and ask why. And you always know you have a strong vessel of knowledge if they can go back and explain it. But when they tell you, well, it's just how I've always done it, That kind of goes back to that traditional, we just do
typical,
because...
typical answer.
Yeah. So, but I mean, so that's your fourth stage, is that teaching stage. It'll open up your understanding deeper. But then from that point, what do you do with it? You know, it's not the end of the journey. You need to keep going. So that's where that next one, which is the mastery side of it. You know, I think the true mastery of the arts is not necessarily in my skill set or your skill set. It's being able to understand my skill set enough to help it integrate into you to become your skill set.
You can create something new.
Yeah, and at that point I've taught you the art. You know, you're now painting on your own, and
Samurai.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, so and going back to the idea of that association and the co-founder thing that we were talking to briefly just a little bit ago, is that, you know, if you go through the psychological process of what happens in combat, I can't explain that because I don't have that knowledge base. I know a little bit, but go talk to Dr. Marquez, because he'll tell you exactly, you know, oh, this is what this, you know, your autonomic nervous system steps in and that.
Or the brain works.
And you know, he starts in and I'm like, I get mind blown on how deep his knowledge base is. And how do you deal with it if you ever get in that situation? How do you personally deal with it? Well, go talk to Oscar, because he has such inner peace in himself. You know, he'll help you get through that, you know, traumatic experience. If it was a traumatic experience, he'll help you deal with it, you know. And it's I think that is the real mastery behind that, is understanding that what I do is me, but being able to teach, mimic, memorize, understand, and teach it is great. But when you really get to that mastery is when you can teach different people how to go through that process, even though they're not the same body type or the same mentality. So, but that's another reason that when I had the idea of partnering with you guys, because I don't even like to even consider it grandmaster or anything like that, because it's not. I mean, how many times have I been here in Spain? Half a dozen or more, and it's always been a bond and a friendship. It's never been some elevated, you know,
Absolutely,
you know, thing of, ooh, here comes. It's just, hey, my buddy's coming, you know, and so. But that I realized that I needed your help, and you know, we needed Oscar's help, and we needed Ramphas's help, and Ramphas needed our help, and you know, it's such an intimacy between us four. So it's like I said, we owe it to Grandmaster Kim, God rest his soul. I miss him. He passed away. You know, he fought such a hard fight, you know. But we owe it to him. He was the one that brought us all together at one place at one time. And from there, it's been, if we look back, he was the one that dropped the nugget. And then the ripples happened. And then now the ripples are all coming back. And now we're dropping bigger nuggets together. So, yeah, it's a fun journey.
Thank you, Will.
My buddy.